Three nations, one global stage, and the question on everyone's mind: who truly holds the title of the world's military superpower? The US, Russia, and China each boast massive armies, advanced technology, and nuclear weapons capable of changing the world in an instant. But it's not just about numbers, it's about strategy, training, technology, and the ability to project power anywhere on the planet. In this video, we'll compare the strengths, weaknesses, and real-world capabilities of the US, China, and Russia. By the end, you'll see which country dominates the skies, rules the seas, controls the battlefield, and has the global infrastructure to project its might worldwide. Number 1. Budget. Money makes the army. A nation's ability to wield military power starts with its budget. Simply put, money makes the army. And the United States leads the world by an enormous margin. With an annual military budget of $892.6 billion, the U.S. is inching toward the $1 trillion mark, funding cutting-edge technologies like hypersonic weapons, advanced missile defense systems, and classified projects such as the Golden Dome. This massive spending not only supports a modern, highly capable force, but also ensures research, development, and production pipelines remain world-leading. China, although notoriously secretive about its military finances, is estimated to spend around $245 billion annually, focusing heavily on naval expansion, aiming to create the largest fleet in the world by vessel count. This reflects China's strategy of asserting regional dominance, particularly in the South China Sea, and building the infrastructure needed to extend influence over distant waters. Russia, meanwhile, spends approximately $145 billion, largely driven by ongoing operations in Ukraine, where costs include troop deployments, drones, equipment modernization, and logistical support. However, looking at raw numbers alone can be misleading. Adjusting for purchasing power parity, PPP, China's military spending rises to $541 billion, and Russia's to $462 billion. Highlighting that these countries achieve more per dollar due to state-operated defense industries, lower labor costs, and domestic production of key systems. In other words, while the US outspends them massively, it doesn't always get more efficiency per dollar. Still, unmatched investment in technology, training, and global deployment keeps the United States far ahead in overall military capability. Number 2. Tanks' armored strength versus strategic smarts. When it comes to tanks, raw numbers can be misleading. Russia currently leads with roughly 5,630 tanks, followed by China at 4,700 and the US at 4,140. On paper, Russia's armored dominance is clear, but losses in Ukraine and logistical challenges have significantly reduced its operational advantage. Production struggles also limit Russia's ability to replace losses, meaning its numerical edge is shrinking with every conflict. China focuses on quantity over quality, maintaining a large fleet of older models like the Type 59 and Type 69. While its modern Type 99 tank, though technologically advanced, remains largely untested in combat. This gives China a substantial force in terms of numbers, but battlefield effectiveness is uncertain. Especially against highly trained and technologically advanced adversaries, the United States, while fielding fewer tanks, benefits from strategic geography and superior technology. American tanks like the M1 Abrams combine armor, firepower, and advanced targeting systems that often outperform numerically superior opponents. Additionally, any direct threat to U.S. soil from either Russia or China would require overcoming oceans or heavily defended choke points, effectively neutralizing their numerical advantage. In modern warfare, training, deployment capability, and coordination with air and artillery support often outweigh sheer numbers, making U.S. armored forces far more lethal per unit than their counterparts. Number 3. Air superiority, dominating the skies. When it comes to air power, the U.S. isn't just ahead, it dominates outright. With 3,068 combat aircraft, the U.S. far surpasses China's 2,220 and Russia's 1,052. But it's not just the number of aircraft that counts. It's the type, capability, and strategic deployment that truly matters. The U.S. also leads dramatically in aerial refueling tankers, a critical component for long-range operations. America fields 605 tankers, allowing fighters and bombers to project force anywhere in the world, while China has just 10 and Russia 19. This gives the US a massive operational advantage in sustained air campaigns. Fifth-generation fighters like the F-22 Raptor and F-35 Lightning II outperform the Chinese J-20 and Russian Su-57 in stealth, speed, radar evasion, and versatility. These planes can strike, evade detection, and dominate in air-to-air and air-to-ground combat. Chinese pilots, despite flying advanced aircraft, are restricted by rigid command protocols that limit decision-making on the battlefield. Russian Su-57s, meanwhile, are fewer in number, less stealthy, and technologically behind. And the US isn't stopping at fifth-generation technology. The next-generation Air Dominance NGAD program, now called the F-47, promises sixth-generation fighters that integrate with unmanned aerial vehicles, drones, to form a networked air combat web. This ensures American air dominance will last for decades, making it nearly impossible for rivals to challenge US control of the skies. Number 4. Naval power. Tonnage beats numbers. At first glance, China appears dominant at sea, with the largest navy in the world by number of ships, 754 vessels compared to the US's 440. However, sheer numbers are misleading. Naval tonnage, firepower, and strategic capabilities are the true indicators of global maritime power. The U.S. fleet displaces 4.163 million tons, over 1.2 million tons more than China, meaning American ships are bigger, stronger, and more heavily armed. Aircraft carriers, cruisers, and destroyers give the U.S. the ability to project force globally, strike from the sea, and control critical sea lanes. China, despite having more ships, relies heavily on smaller patrol vessels and frigates that are far less capable in large-scale combat. Russia, with 419 ships, struggles to maintain relevance. Losses in the Ukraine conflict and the scrapping of the Admiral Kuznetsov aircraft carrier have weakened its blue water capabilities. Its navy is primarily regional in reach and lacks the power projection needed to challenge the U.S. overseas. In a real-world scenario, the U.S. can strike anywhere, sustain global naval operations, and dominate choke points. China's numbers matter for regional dominance in the South China Sea, but would not challenge U.S. power in a full-scale naval conflict. Naval tonnage, firepower, and global deployment remain the true measure of sea dominance, and here, America clearly leads. Number 5. Personnel, size versus training. China's army is massive, over 2 million active soldiers and 510,000 in reserve, making it the largest standing force among the three. Russia follows with 2.6 million combined, while the US has 2.1 million personnel. On paper, China seems unbeatable, but numbers alone are misleading. The U.S. military emphasizes highly trained, battle-tested soldiers with combat experience in Iraq, Afghanistan, NATO operations, and countless special operations missions. Soldiers are equipped with advanced technology, precision-guided weapons, and rigorous training programs, giving them superior effectiveness per soldier. Russia's troops have combat experience in Ukraine, but there are significant issues. Many new recruits receive minimal training before deployment, limiting operational effectiveness and the ability to conduct complex operations. China's army, despite its size, is largely untested in modern combat, and a rigid command hierarchy prevents commanders and soldiers from exercising battlefield initiative. Additionally, technology amplifies training. American troops integrate drones, satellite intelligence, and precision-guided munitions into combat, allowing smaller forces to outperform larger armies. This shows that quality, readiness, and adaptability often outweigh raw manpower. One of the main reasons why the U.S. can maintain dominance despite having fewer soldiers than China or Russia. Number 6. Global reach, bases, and deployment. What truly sets the U.S. apart from China and Russia is not just its equipment or personnel, its global reach. The United States maintains 750 to 800 military bases across 80 countries, giving it an unparalleled ability to project power anywhere in the world within days. These bases are strategically located in Europe, Asia, the Middle East, and beyond, allowing rapid deployment of troops, aircraft, and naval assets to counter threats or respond to crises. In contrast, Russia has a handful of bases, mainly in former Soviet states or allied nations, which serve training and logistical functions but cannot support sustained global operations. China has only one overseas base in Djibouti, providing limited regional influence rather than global reach. This global network allows the U.S. to control strategic choke points, such as the Bering Strait, the Strait of Hormuz, and the South China Sea. It also enables quick reinforcement of allies, evacuation operations, and humanitarian missions capabilities that both China and Russia lack on a comparable scale. Geography and infrastructure amplify U.S. military power far beyond numbers on paper, turning global logistics into a force multiplier. Simply put, while other nations may have large armies or fleets, the U.S. can bring its power to bear anywhere, anytime, giving it a decisive strategic advantage. Number 7. Nuclear capabilities, the ultimate deterrent. No discussion of military power is complete without nuclear weapons, the ultimate equalizer in global warfare. Russia and the U.S. are virtually neck and neck, with Russia holding 5,580 warheads and the U.S. slightly behind at 5,225. China, while far behind with 600 warheads, is rapidly expanding its arsenal, adding roughly 100 new warheads per year, signaling ambitions to eventually narrow the gap. Nuclear weapons introduce a unique dynamic. While the U.S. dominates conventional warfare with superior technology, training, and equipment, the threat of mutually assured destruction, MAD, forces all three powers to exercise extreme caution. Any use of nuclear weapons would trigger global consequences, making conventional military superiority crucial for strategy short of nuclear conflict. Furthermore, nuclear capabilities influence global alliances and deterrence strategies. The U.S. maintains nuclear-capable bombers, submarine-launched ballistic missiles, and land-based intercontinental ballistic missiles, ICBMs, forming a triad that ensures survivability in any conflict scenario. Russia's nuclear arsenal is similar, but conventional losses and infrastructure vulnerabilities limit its ability to project power abroad. China's smaller arsenal provides regional deterrence but cannot match the U.S. or Russia in a full-scale nuclear standoff. In essence, while conventional superiority favors the U.S., the nuclear balance acts as a ceiling, preventing escalation and forcing strategic caution. It ensures that, despite differences in size, training, or technology, all three nations remain locked in a tense equilibrium where nuclear weapons act as both shield and sword. After examining budgets, tanks, air power, naval strength, personnel, global deployment, and nuclear capabilities, a clear picture emerges. Military power is about far more than numbers on paper. While China leads in sheer manpower and Russia holds a massive tank and nuclear arsenal, the United States consistently combines technology, training, and global reach to turn smaller forces into a dominant, efficient fighting machine. In conventional warfare, the U.S. dominates the skies with advanced fighters like the F-22, F-35, and soon the sixth-generation F-47, backed by unparalleled aerial refueling capacity. At sea, the U.S. fleet may be smaller than China's in number, but it outweighs it in tonnage, firepower, and ability to project force worldwide. On land, American soldiers may be outnumbered, but their training, technology, and battlefield experience make them far more effective than larger but less experienced forces. Global reach and infrastructure amplify these advantages. With hundreds of bases across dozens of countries, the U.S. can deploy rapidly, control strategic choke points, and respond to threats anywhere in the world, giving it a level of strategic flexibility unmatched by China or Russia. Even in the nuclear domain, while all three countries maintain destructive arsenals, the combination of conventional superiority and nuclear deterrence ensures that the U.S. maintains the upper hand in global influence and strategic decision-making. Ultimately, military dominance isn't just about who has the most soldiers or ships, it's about who can use them most effectively. Technology, strategy, readiness, and global reach make the United States the most formidable military superpower on Earth today. China and Russia have strengths and potential, but in a global, high-tech, multi-domain conflict, the U.S. remains the nation capable of projecting power anywhere and maintaining dominance across all domains land, sea, air, and beyond.